The difference is made possible by the following small businesses: Real Property Management Focus, the choice to make when you want to feel confident and secure in knowing that your investment is earning the profit it deserves. The Financial Point, your go-to spot for all things finance. Platinum Eagle Insurance, providing the widest range of insurance options to make insurance easy and seamless. WeatherTech General Contracting, we make your home renovation dreams a reality. Lender's Choice Credit Solutions, utilizing our attorney-backed processes and only charging clients if and when results are obtained. This is how we have made the difference for over 10,000 clients and counting. And by Power on Utilities Concierge, your one-stop shop for all of your home's essential services.
What is up, difference makers? Welcome back to Real Talk. It is your favorite LO, Loan Officer Mark. I am so excited. It is February 2022. We've got a brand new topic for us. We're talking personal branding, everything that you need to know from start to finish. Lendon, let's go. Roll that music.
All right, just jamming on the music. Mark, thanks for that intro. Good to see you again. Yes, we are in a new month, and we have a new business topic. That is branding as the general business topic of the month and of today's show, both from a personal business standpoint. What does it mean to you, right? So branding is our topic of the day. Hello, everybody. It is Thursday. It is a snow day for all of us here in the DFW area. If you're listening, you know what I mean. It's cold, it's snowy, it's icy, and the roads are not very passable right now. So hopefully that means we get more viewers because you don't have anything better to do. So if this is your first time tuning into our show, we are Real Talk with Brian Poduska. We have rotating co-hosts every week. Today we have Mark, as you saw earlier, and we have Greg Holberg, who is subbing in for Kendra Kennedy. And a brief, leave Kendra in your thoughts and prayers. She was not directly involved in an accident this past weekend, but friends of hers were. So thoughts and prayers with her, and we will get her on a different week this month. But thanks to Greg for stepping up and joining us. Mark does have an awesome guest, so look forward to meeting her here shortly. But if you haven't tuned into our show, like I said, we have rotating co-hosts. We have a business topic of the month that we dive deep into. And then we also have guests on that we dive into their businesses, let them spotlight their business. That's what we are all about, is highlighting everybody who's on the show's business. And we focus on entrepreneurs, business owners locally here in DFW, or even we've had some that are national as well. So that is the idea. We are part of the Difference radio show and podcast, and the Difference platform. And the key to the difference is the things that make the difference in business and life. So we've been doing this I've been part of the Difference with Lennon Wilson, who's in the background running the show, for roughly going on 2 years now, almost, I believe. And I can recall about a year ago now, I brought up the winter weather. We were in the Snowmageddon, kind of this is 2.0, which is much milder than last year's version. And I think we had about a 15-minute spot where we just brought up and connected some of our vendors, whether they were plumbers, disaster recovery companies, and things like that. So that's the idea of the show, is really connecting folks, letting small business owners, entrepreneurs come on, share their business, share their experience, and helping other small business owners in the area. So that is what we are. That's Real Talk with Brian Poduska. I own a property management company called Real Property Management. You can see behind me. That is our brand. That is our logo. So we'll talk a little bit about branding and logos today and things like that. But we are a full-service real estate brokerage focusing on property management. So our key clientele and wheelhouse clients are investors with intentional investors with multiple properties, ideally. But we also work with beginning investors, folks who are even thinking about getting into the real estate investment world. We have some unique tools to help you out with that. So if you're in any of those categories, certainly look us up, Real Property Management Focus, where we focus on your real estate investments. So that is us, Real Property Management. But without further ado, Lennon, if you wouldn't mind, let's bring on our co-hosts and say hello. What's up, gentlemen? How are we doing today?
Hello there. Happy snow day.
Yeah, happy snow day. Hopefully you guys are staying warm. The big difference this year versus last year is we all have power, or we all, but
don't jinx it.
Majority of the Metroplex.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Right. Yeah, I shouldn't say that so aggressively, but
yeah.
If you recall, for those of you who weren't in the area here last year, we had rolling blackouts, and it was pretty much a nightmare. So luckily, we're not dealing with that right now, but it's not too pleasant outside right now. I know that's the case for a lot of the country, so hopefully everybody's staying warm. Mark, I know you've got an awesome guest to bring on. Why don't we bring her on, and why don't we kick off the show and just dive right into the branding concept?
I do. Ashley, welcome to the show. I am happy to facilitate a cross collaboration. Ashley, I've only known you for a little bit of time, but you are a power rock star in what you do. And I love the fact that you actually bring your personality to the mix. And so welcome to Real Talk, powered by The Difference. Ashley, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Thanks, Mark. Well, one, we obviously have great taste in show titles because I host Real Talk for Metro Tex Association of Realtors. So great job, Brian. But
likewise.
I am a local realtor to the DFW market. I co-own the company with my mom, actually. And so Red Branch Realty, where office is in West Plano, but only work by referral. So have car, will travel. And I am actually secretary treasurer for our trade association, Metro Tex, this year. So hopefully that means they won't kick me out before I become president in 2024. But we'll see. That would be for good reason, though, I'm sure. So, but that's just a little bit about me. And I love that I get to talk about branding today because I think that's where I really succeed on branding, not only for our company, but branding for who you are personally and being that same person when you're doing a real estate deal that you're going to see me in a grocery store. So excited to talk a little bit more about that. And that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today, Ashley. It was a pleasure to meet you backstage. And yes, you have fantastic taste in your show name.
Thank you.
So I guess it's going to be a race to see who can get trademark value on it first, right?
I'll let you have it.
Well, we can share it. I'm good with that.
Okay.
No, so that's awesome. Thank you again for joining today. And yeah, I'm glad you can join in on this topic because as an agent and as somebody who has a podcast and I know somebody who's opinionated at times, branding is definitely important. So with that, I'll just throw a broad question out there and any of you guys can answer. What is branding to you? Just high level.
Man, my man Greg is branding. Let me tell you, Greg, you've done an incredible job in what a lot of us know as really a pretty boring environment. So introduce yourself to the world again, and then let's hear your take, man. I'm excited for that.
Sure. Well, I'm going to change my company name to Real Insurance. To kind of fall in line with everyone, but no, my company name is Liberator Health Insurance, and from the branding standpoint, when I was looking at what do I call this thing, and at the time there were federal mandates in place saying that you had to buy a government compliant health plan if you wanted, or you were going to have to pay fines and all that. When they started looking at eliminating the individual mandate, that's where I came up with the name, because it I want to liberate people from this government one-size-fits-all mandated plan. So that's where I came up with the name of that. The other thing I did was I talk a lot about insurance industry in general. I want to be known as the go-to guy for any question as it relates to health insurance. Even though I'm fairly focused on the areas that I cover, I have a lot of knowledge on how the system works, how healthcare works. I've made it a point to become an expert in this is how do we get there or get here from where we've come all the years. And so I've sort of branded myself as you want to know anything about health insurance and health coverage and how the inner behind the curtain scenes work. I wanted to be the go-to guy for that. So that's what I've strived to do, is to brand myself as that.
And I think that's something that doesn't come naturally to us. And I think it's something that I have very much experienced myself as a pretty young entrepreneur. And I see a lot of real estate agents struggling. Ashley, I mean, you see it from how many years of experience, by the way? How long have you been licensed?
Going on 17 years. And I know I look like a spring chicken. That means I was just licensed for 5, or when I was 5. But no, agents inherently suck at branding. I mean, it's abhorrent. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I will always stay independent, because I get to control that and see what that is. But branding to me is what the consumer sees about me and that message about it. It's not about looking your best. It's not about having necessarily the best logo, which those things are important, but it's my brand speaks for itself, which is why I said you're going to see me act the same way in a real estate deal that you're going to see me in a grocery store. That's my brand. And I think most realtors see what somebody else is doing, thinks it looks good. Let's do the humble brag. Look at me. I just sold a listing, $45,000 over list price. Call me today. Well, no crap. Everybody's selling listings over list price right now. So that's not a brand. That's just self-promotion. And it turns a lot of people off. So, that's what I think is so important, especially if you're in sales and any entrepreneur is in sales. You've got to, which is why I gravitated towards you, Mark. You are a walking billboard, 24/7 of your personality and who you are. And it translates, into your business as well.
You get what you signed up for with me.
Yeah.
I know I'm a love or hate kind of guy. And if you hate me, like, that's your problem. So that's kind of the way.
Haters going to hate, Mark. Haters going to hate.
Hey, I got a quick question. I want to throw out to give y'all something to think about. I coined a term about 5 years ago when I was working with real estate agents. And Ashley, you and I need to sit down and have a drink, because I bet we can have one long bitch session. I seriously do. But the phrase that I coined was behavioral branding, because everybody had the logo, everybody had the tagline, but their behavior did not reflect anything that would allow them to have that know, like, and trust factor.
Yep.
And so when I started saying behavioral branding, people shied away from that. They didn't like that. They didn't like that at all, because then you have to hold yourself to account. Is what you're selling the same way that you're acting?
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to answer that for you real quick. It's 99.9% of the time. No, for realtors, at least.
You're right.
I'll speak for them.
Yeah, and that, Lennon, I love that term, behavioral branding, because especially us as business owners and us all providing a service, right, in one way, shape, or form. So, I've talked about it before, Ashley. We just met, but I have a corporate background, right? So I spent 17 years working for a branding company. Consumer packaged goods was the underlying brand. So PepsiCo, I worked for PepsiCo, right? So worked on some really awesome brands, and really understood what branding was from a corporate standpoint. The behavioral piece is something that is applicable to us as individuals, as our entity, and especially those of us that are service providers. So I love that distinction. I've got some interesting stories that we can share on the other side of the break about branding and a couple words that I'll pull into this and we can talk about. But passion and authenticity, I want to dive into those terms, and we can do that on the other side of the break here. But we have a commercial from our sponsors, so let's kick that off, Lennon. We'll come back and talk about it.
Today's show is brought to you by the following small businesses.
Liberator Health Insurance, the best value in the health insurance industry. Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Would you like to hear about an alternative to your current health insurance? How about an average of around 30 to 50% savings on your premiums? At Liberator Health Insurance, you can see any doctor, any hospital, small copays, and low deductibles. And there is no referral to see a specialist, all with very affordable premiums. For a quick quote, call or text Greg Holberg today at 214-886-4688.
And by Wines with an Appeal. Wines with an Appeal offers entertaining and educational wine tasting events to help you fundraise, recognize your clients, or just have a fun night out with friends. At our fundraising events, we strive to provide a nice variety of reds, whites, sparkling, and dessert wines. We typically offer a good variety of the core varietals, along with some interesting blends. We sample wines from all over the world. Call or email for details on how it works and how your event could be available at no cost to you. And now back to the show.
Well, one of those dudes looks familiar. Yeah, so
Nice.
Thank you to our sponsors. Liberator Health Insurance obviously is one of them. Greg, thanks for joining us today as a substitute, and then Wines with an Appeal. Love you guys. Love your support. And if anybody else is looking for, a little bit of airtime like that and wants to come on the show, we are always welcoming new sponsors. So throw that out there. But, going forward, what we talked about before the break, I want to dive into passion, authenticity. If you guys have any other words or terms that you think is applicable to branding, certainly we can do that. But like I mentioned, I was in corporate America for 17 years, worked for one of the best branding companies in the world, frankly. And passion was one of the things that everybody who works there, whether you had it when you started working there or not, or whether you had it or not, you were going to develop it or you weren't going to be there for very long. Example, Frito-Lay is part of PepsiCo, and I worked at Frito-Lay here in Plano, Texas, for 7-8 years, something like that. And one of the executives that we worked pretty closely with literally had a can of Pringles outside his office, and every time he walked into his office, stepped on that can of Pringles. So a competitor, right? It's not part of the PepsiCo world. So just to give you an example, it's a living it daily sort of thing. You live it, breathe it. So that's the high level branding. We've talked about behavioral branding, but so that to me is an example of passion, right? You're passionate, you live it daily. So talk to me guys about, how you either bring passion to your own brand or looking outwardly, how does passion impact your brand image?
I think for me it's if I've got somebody that or I'm known enough to where someone feels comfortable to have somebody that I don't know call me to ask a question about, say, a medical bill. Perfect example is I had a lady call me up and she says, "You don't know me, but there's another lady that you at one time had talked to insurance. She didn't buy because she ended up going to work for a company and they provided her health insurance. But she said you could answer my question." And her question was, I had this procedure done and I got charged $750 for it. She did not have insurance at the time. And she says, "Does that sound right to you?" Well, I've got tools. I went out there, I looked at it, and no, they basically gouged her for about $500. So I told her, I said, no. I said that the national average on that procedure was $257. And she said, "Thank you very much." She called back 2 days later and said she called them and confronted them on it, and they dropped the price to $257 without even putting up an argument. And of course, she signed up for insurance. So to me, that was like a double pleasure, because it was, not only did I get some business out of it from someone that I didn't know, it was a referral, but I also was able to save somebody $500 and expand that brand to let people know that, look, if you got a question about healthcare, call me and I'll answer. Some people call me up and just ask, "Hey, is this a good deal?" And it's a competitor. I'll tell them, yeah, it's a good deal. A lot of times I'll tell people, what you have is better than what I can offer. Stick with it. I'm at that point in my career where I don't have to get the deal. I'd rather work on my branding and be full service to people and earn a few bucks in the process. But that's where I want to be as far as getting out there and letting my brand shine. As far as I'm the guy that you go to with a healthcare question.
Right.
Awesome. From a real estate perspective, right? Ashley, you said you've seen a lot of agents, and ever since you were 5 years old, and you passed the real estate exam. So it's been just a few years since you've been in the business. What they say, the average person knows 10 realtors, right?
Sure.
We've seen a lot in our day, and there's more and more coming into the business as the housing market continues to really shine, right?
Yep.
So from a passion, or I don't even want to limit this part of the conversation necessarily to passion, but I know that's part of it.
Yep.
What do you see as the difference maker in being successful as a real estate agent versus not being successful as it relates to branding?
It's so hard. If you know 10 different realtors, then what's my value proposition? How am I going to differentiate myself? And I can tell you right now, they still pick up the phone and call me. And that's because there's a distinct correlation with, you go on my Facebook page, which is open to the public, my personal Facebook page, my business page, all of those things, there's consistency and a direct correlation. So they get that warm feeling of being able to trust and respect me before actually even speaking to me. And I think that's key. I hold the difference of somebody building generational wealth in my hands every single day by doing real estate. And the fact that most realtors get in the business because they look at it as a different sales bucket. I mean, right now, I'm sure we're all in these different sales groups, but it's, do I sell roofs? Do I sell solar? Do I sell insurance? Or do I sell real estate? And I'm like, how are those even in the same conversation? But that's, hey, more power to you if you hack YouTube and figure out how to sell $50 million worth of real estate. But I bet you your client's not calling you again next year, and your acquisition cost per customer is going up, but that's okay. So for me, people just understand, and they go, I want to work with Ashley in one of the most serious purchases of my life, but I also know I'm probably going to have a good time. And because you got to bring laughter into the situation to create some levity, because Brian, you're in the same vein, and so are you, Mark. It's a roller coaster, and especially right now in the real estate market. So I think that's important. And I heard a statistic that 50%, I believe, of the realtors in the state of Texas have been licensed for less than 5 years. And we've been in an unreal upward trajectory for the past 5 years. So they weren't in when we had the foreclosure market, the short sale market, where you'd show a house and there'd be, 4-letter words written on the walls and different things like that. So they just don't even have an idea. It's about a paycheck. But I think that's what most realtors miss. They don't understand what they're doing, and they don't have a value proposition. So they also get what's called the commissionectomy, where they have to be a flat fee realtor, give a rebate, and I don't discount my services. And I don't have to. But I think that's why most realtors end up flaming out. They don't have a personal brand. They don't have a professional brand. And then they just end up going and selling roofs or something else. And there's nothing wrong with selling roofs, by the way, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah, don't insult one of our sponsors, all right?
I love them first.
I'm totally
Well, at least you
kidding.
didn't say go out and sell insurance.
No,
Right,
absolutely not.
A bunch of bums, aren't they, Greg?
Yeah.
No,
As long
kid.
as you're staying away from financing, I'm fine. I'm gonna stay quiet over here.
Kidding aside, so that's an interesting stat. I hadn't heard that one, that 50% of the realtors in Texas are less than 5 years in the business.
Yep.
What I have heard is that there's a pretty significant percentage, and I want to say it's over 50% of those who get into the business get out within 2 years.
I think it's 80+%.
Okay. I knew it was a big number. I wasn't going to jump out on that ledge, but shit, 80%.
80%.
I mean,
This is a hot market.
right.
And while this isn't rocket science, I'm gonna be the outsider and the coach and say this is really difficult, and like we're not taught how to, never mind like think about ourselves, but then actually create the self-awareness to say what do I want the consumer to feel? What do I want my other competitors, but also colleagues, to feel when I have an offer coming in? And it's not an easy thing to do, but it's something that all of us are doing, whether or not we are intentional behind it or not. And I think it's super important to, because of that fact, that we really continue to try to lead with the good, because as long as we're doing that, the rest of the brand and the way that we make others feel, that comes with it, right? And so for those agents, for those business owners that are new into running and operating their business, I know it's not rocket science. This shit ain't easy either. Right.
Well, and I think, Greg, you said this market is hot, and I would say like hot, like lava that you don't want to touch. It's not a fun market, but there's a lot of money to be made. But there are a lot of people that are struggling to even get a deal accepted right now. So I think we are seeing. I'm praying for a realtor cleansing. So we'll see how that goes. But Mark, you hit the nail on the head for me. It's not rocket science, but it's consistency and it's intentionality with what you're trying to do. And I think most people lack consistency. So they might have this really great brand, but then they don't do anything. It's not consistent on their social media channels. It's not consistent with their messaging. It's not any of that kind of stuff. And I think that's where people really fail. You don't want necessarily to work with the realtor that spends $50,000 in fancy marketing, but you do want the realtor that understands the intentionality of how to build a business, because I trust them with the largest purchase and acquisition of my life.
I love that word consistency, because that is absolutely a key component to the concept of branding, right? And again, going back to my previous life, it was consistency in messaging. It was consistency in quality of what you provide. So again, whether it's a product or your service, it's the quality, it's the consistency of the messaging. And again, I'll go back to the authenticity of who's behind it or what's behind it. I love that point. So I'm racking up some words here.
Brian, isn't that though? I mean, inconsistency, though, that when you combine that with your behavior, that's what people are seeing. That's what people that are going to refer you business are seeing. Are you consistent? Are you, do your words match your actions, right? Is that consistent? And can I count on you? Are you going to do it do you follow up, follow through, do the things that the professionals do? And I think that that's some things that we miss sometimes in our branding, is we don't behave professionally 24/7. We do it when it's convenient. We do it when it's advantageous, but we don't always put that professional brand out in front of people. I mean, you've seen that on social media. You've seen people that kind of get in trouble because of maybe something they do on social media or something that gets posted on social media, and all of a sudden now they're suffering from it.
Yeah, and I mean that we could probably do a whole show on that part of it. Yeah, that's a great point, Len, and it goes back to that consistency factor. Is, you know, you're always on the clock, especially as a business owner, especially as your brand is you, and the service you provide is it's a byproduct, a necessary one, but you're providing a service, and that is you. And if you're acting like a jackass, you know, after hours. So yeah, you have a 9-to-5 job, you clock out at 5 o'clock. You can act like a jackass and show up to work the next day and do the same thing, and then clock out at 5, look like a jackass or act like a jackass again. If you're a business owner and you're on social media and you're acting like a jackass when you're off the clock, it's going to come back to haunt you.
Brian, what is this off the clock you speak?
I don't know.
I'm just thinking of that.
Like I said, I had a previous life and there was a clock. I don't have a clock other than to tell me what damn time it is now.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point about personal branding is my customers, and I know all of you are the same, is, you know, I don't, you know, it's not unusual for me to get calls at 8, 9 o'clock at night. It doesn't bother me at all. And all of the people I deal with know that they can call me anytime, text me, whatever. They're going to get an answer back quickly. And that's, to me, that's the ultimate, when people know that they can call me with a question, or if there's something more serious. Obviously, I'm in the health care side, so sometimes it's more serious. You know, I had one lady call me at one time and said that, you know, her daughter fell off the bench and, you know, cracked her head open. Should she take her to the emergency room? And I'm an insurance agent. Yes, take her to the. I'm not a medical professional, but in my medical background, I would say, yeah, take her to the emergency room because she was a little woozy. And as it turns out, she did have a concussion. But I don't mind people at all calling me after hours, and I treat them with as much courtesy as I can, no matter what time they call.
I think realtors are really bad at that because it is hard. You got to set proper expectations of communication, kind of can thwart a lot of that. And that's what I tell my clients. Nothing's generally a real estate emergency, but there's urgency in everything we do. And I have to treat it as such. And so my clients know, hey, if it's something that it's just a yes or no, and you want to email it to me and it's 9 o'clock at night, I appreciate that. If it's something where you need me to talk you off the ledge because you're about to have a panic attack, spending $50,000 over asking price and you need me to assuage your fears, I'm on it. And I thought the best reality check for me is I actually bought a house late last spring. And I know Mark and I were talking about this as well because he did the same thing. And I was puked during the transaction multiple times. And I'm like, is this how my clients feel? This is horrendous. But it was kind of good to be on the other side of it because it was a reality check and it gave me empathy and compassion to then, service my clients again with humility. I think that's the audacity that some people have and think, and that entitlement that, I don't have to answer the phone. I don't have to communicate with my clients. I don't have to do anything. I think it's important and disgusts me. So again, obviously I'm not holding back, Brian. I can get off the rails a little bit here, but I think that's why my clients want to work with me. It's like Lyndon was saying, the behavioral branding and it all connects, so it's super important.
Hey, I respect any agent that's going to bring Pepto-Bismol to their clients because they're going to puke during their transaction.
Hey, it's difficult sometimes. I prefer to bring you vodka to settle the stomach than the Pepto. So let's not get to that point.
Hey, whatever floats your client.
Ashley, I think you mentioned something, one of the words you just said was that entitlement. And unfortunately, without getting on a soapbox and us going in a completely different direction, our society has become an entitled society. We don't appreciate anymore. We do not, we take for granted the opportunities that we have. It hurts our industries. Our behavior hurts our industries. It gives our industries a bad name because we don't appreciate the opportunity that we have and what we've been entrusted to do. And that really does, when you start looking at brands, you can see that separation between that true professional that doesn't believe they're entitled to it. They're working for everything. They're earning every single deal they get, versus the person that's always kind of in a bad mood and kind of feel like that they're being cheated out of something.
There's so much there. Oh man. There's something about having, to an extent, a chip on your shoulder, and expecting that sale, right? As professionals, we need to be self-confident enough to know the value we bring, and therefore expect the sale. But the entitlement word, that's a difficult word for me to swallow, because we all know we're not entitled to shit. And that's at the end of the day, what makes America beautiful. Go make what you earn, go put it out there and you can build anything, but you expect it to be done for you. You're in for a very poor surprise.
Well, and for me, I know, in my show that I do a Real Talk with our association, my association basically said, go forth, do something different. And I said, but I really don't like realtors. I throw my industry under the bus every chance I can get. Now, the good ones, we're best friends. And that's why deals are getting done in this market where others are shooting out 42 different offers and not getting anything accepted. My favorite thing is like attracts like. And so that's, I think, why we're all on the screen right now, because we've, gravitated towards one person here and then got introduced to somebody else. But all of that, the real estate industry with the evolution of iBuyers, which are instant buyers, and online platforms and all of those other things, I think all of you guys have that in your industry. It's there for a reason, because we didn't provide value. We sucked at our branding. We didn't do proper promotion, and we have no value prop to continue to offer. So, I mean, that's what the key to branding, whether it's behavioral or product messaging or, your logo and everything else, it takes 16 touch points a year to stay in front of your target person. When I heard that 16 touch points, I need to stay with my sphere of influence, the people that I do business with or support my business. I better communicate with them 16 times a year. That's a lot. But I do it because guess what? I go into listing appointments where there's a magnet with a Dallas Cowboys schedule and a realtor's face on it that's on there. And I'm the one signing the listing paperwork. So, and by the way, I love the Dallas Cowboys, and I think that's why they had the magnet there, but stop wasting your money on fridge magnets if you're never going to pick up the phone and treat the closing table like a divorce.
Love it.
Well, it's really true that, for especially in real estate is, there's a group of people that get together, social type things. Somebody mentions, hey, I've got somebody moving in from out of town. And, the ultimate compliment is when they say, oh, you need to call Ashley. You need to have her call Ashley. That's where you want to be. Now, when you talk brand, Nirvana is us to have like a PepsiCo, type of a brand. But, we're independent folks. We don't have, the money to brand like that. But we can brand ourselves from a personal standpoint to whereas if that topic comes up in a conversation of people that we barely know, but it's back to your 16 touch points. They know us well enough to trust us and to say, you know what, I need to refer this person because you need to talk to Ashley because they're not going to let you down. They're going to steer you right. And that's the ultimate.
Well, and I think, between what Lennon said and what Ashley said earlier, branding and how that can elevate your industry. So Ashley touched on, why are iBuyers here? Okay, maybe because there's a shit ton of agents out there that suck. And so how does branding impact and elevate industries? It can be done, right? Think about some of the biggest industries out there. You've got usually two big ones that go against each other, whether it's the Pepsi versus the Coke or Apple versus Microsoft, right? So whatever industry you want to talk about. Electronic vehicles, Tesla versus, Ford's a big player now, whoever you want to talk about. But, branding can not only elevate yourself, your business, but it can elevate the industry. And if there's enough of us, as Ashley's kind of talking about with, her connection with MetroTex and everything else, how can we be better agents? How can we better, give our industry a better name, right?
Well, it's accountability.
Yep.
Accountability, I think, is key. Sorry, Greg, you can go first.
That's
I'll
okay.
let you go first.
I'm a big mouth, so I'll step on everybody. Sorry about that. No, a lot of times, with your personal brand, you need to rise above the reputation of your industry. And, for you, Ashley, you see them out there. There's a ton of incompetent morons that, they get into the business to say, hey, I can make a quick buck on this. And they sell their house, and then that's the only house they've ever sold. That happens all the time. In my business, the insurance agency, I harken back to an old Woody Allen movie where he was in prison and they put him in solitary confinement with an insurance agent as his punishment. So that's always stuck in the back of my head. Just trying to rise above that to say, well, no, I'm not part of this group. I am what makes this group work. Everybody else is an afterthought. So if you deal with me, you're going to get, the most honest answers to your questions, and I'm going to go to work for you and keep you out of harm's way. Because when you look at the stack of papers that you got to sign during a closing, you want somebody in that room that knows what it is that you're signing. Because to me, when I bought my last house, it was like after the second or third page, fine, I'm just signing. I don't care anymore. I figured, well, it can't be that illegal. But, the agent I had with me that I happened to be related to made sure that, Dad, this is what you need to do. And, check this and make sure that it is correct.
Yeah, and I know Brent pretty well, so he's one of the ones you have to watch out for, Greg. Come on, man.
He is.
Well, I wanted to throw something out there. So one, accountability is, I think, key in all of our industries. We have to hold our counterparts accountable. And if we don't, then we're just as bad. And then I wanted to share a little thing that kind of struck with me. It was I think it was some sort of luxury seminar or something else. And the guy that was doing it said, do you know where real estate agents rank in the list of trusted professionals? And this was like an actual big survey. And we were like 36 of like 50. So that was on the bottom, by the way. And we were sandwiched in between attorneys and sex workers.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so I'm like, how interesting. Wow. And that was the light bulb moment for me, going, if people can just trust me as a person, to know that I have integrity and that I'm going to take care of them, but trust me in my knowledge of my industry, I'm golden. I'm at the top. And that's the difference, is most people don't ever focus on, how do I gain somebody's trust? I mean, it just blows my mind. If you trust me and respect me, it's a done deal. But yet we stray away from that so much. And I like to show it I loved Stuart from Mad TV. And so I always loved this illusion, but realtors are so good at look what I can do. And then there's nothing to back it up. So trust and respect and holding each other accountable, I think we can elevate all of our reputations of our industries.
Yeah, I like that. And I like the overall concept of that. And that's something that, I think we've got on the slate for a future business topic, is just, how do we elevate our industries, and what are the things that lead to that? So that we'll get to that in a deeper time. And Ashley, you're welcome to come back and talk
Sure.
on that topic too. So just taking a step back, because I know we're going to take a commercial break here in a second, but going back to previous months, in December, we kind of talked about how do we get in the right mindset to start executing the plans that we had laid out previously in prior months, right? So as we're coming into 2022, how do we get into the right mindset, employee versus entrepreneurial type mindset and things like that? In January, we dove into processes and procedures that we could put into place to guarantee that success, or make that success more likely. And now we're going to get into, in February, as part of this, so branding, personal branding, business branding would be one of those things, right? So that's what we've been trying to do, and that's what we'll do going forward. What I want to do on the back end of the commercial break is talk about some of the key things that you've seen that's been successful in the real estate industry, Ashley. And then, of course, Mark, you on the loan side, and Greg on the insurance side. What are some of those key success factors to improve your branding, to share with our audience as they're looking to execute on their plans for this year. With that being said, I'm also going to tease something that Lennon and I talked about last week, that we're going to do a little fundraising event from a personally passionate standpoint, because it involves my son. But so I'll leave it at that. Right now, we're going to give a little break for our commercial sponsors. With that, Lennon, I'll let you kick that off.
Today's show is brought to you by the following small businesses.
Liberator Health Insurance, the best value in the health insurance industry. Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Would you like to hear about an alternative to your current health insurance? How about an average of around 30 to 50% savings on your premiums? At Liberator Health Insurance, you can see any doctor, any hospital, small copays, and low deductibles. And there is no referral to see a specialist, all with very affordable premiums. For a quick quote, call or text Greg Holberg today at 214-886-4688.
And by Wines with an Appeal. Wines with an Appeal offers entertaining and educational wine tasting events to help you fundraise, recognize your clients, or just have a fun night out with friends. At our fundraising events, we strive to provide a nice variety of reds, whites, sparkling, and dessert wines. We typically offer a good variety of the core varietals, along with some interesting blends. We sample wines from all over the world. Call or email for details on how it works and how your event could be available at no cost to you. And now back to the show.
Awesome. All right. So real quick, I mentioned the thing about my son, right? So Len and I are in the process of trying to put this together. But a week and a half ago, my son and his hockey team, ice hockey team with Frisco, the Frisco West ice hockey team, there's actually two teams in Frisco, they won the state championship here in Texas.
Awesome.
So, and hockey, yeah.
I didn't know we had a hockey player in our midst.
Cheers to them, right? Now, the catch with hockey in Texas is it's not a UIL sanctioned sport. So therefore, it is not funded by state funds and district funds, right? So as a hockey parent, it's as the state of Texas representative, they get to go to nationals. And along with that comes quite a few expenses. So what we've got an idea of, and this is again in works here, so no details to share other than, we're opening up the opportunity and airtime for business owners to come on Jerry Lewis style fundraising, right? We're going to do a telethon, opportunity to share some information about your business. Really come on, just shoot the shit a little bit. We're going to have as many guests as we can, hopefully from the team as well. But really just to make it a great experience for these boys who will be representing the state of Texas in the national high school hockey tournament. So that is what I wanted to tease out. Again, more details to come on that, but it's going to be pretty fun stuff.
Well, I had no idea you were a hockey dad. I don't know if you even know, but I grew up on the ice. I've actually been thinking about and looking into some possible coaching. And so you can certainly count me in on the fundraiser, and I'm going to be happy to help out.
Dude, I should have put two and two together. Your Russian background, you grew up on the East Coast, right?
Literally, I have like 4 or 5 memories from Russia. One of them is 4 years old running across the ice on my skates. Like, what ice? Like, what are you talking about?
Right. I mean, it's in your blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 2 years old, they super glue them to your feet, right?
It's like I was born. I mean, it's like I popped out with them.
Yeah.
Well, I am not coordinated enough. I like contact sports, and I need to be on like a grounded surface. But my maiden name is Ferrantino, and I grew up in New York and New Jersey, and so I at least watched a lot of hockey. So I too am interested, Brian, and would happily participate.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your support, guys, and more importantly, my son and the Frisco Ice Hockey Organization does as well, because again, it's one of those things that, because it's not a UIL governed sport, it's it's every dime that's raised to support not only the national championship outing here, but it's the organization in total, right? So they support the Frisco Ice Hockey Association, FIHA as it's known. They support the 2 highest level varsity teams, but then they also have 3 JV teams. Actually, I think 1 other varsity, a lower level varsity team, and then 2 JV teams as well. So that goes into the coaching salaries, ice time, all that stuff. So it is a very expensive sport. Mark, as you know, if you've grown up in it, and Greg, I know you've got some ties to ice as well. Ice time is not cheap, nor is professional coaching and all that stuff. So
either. I have a feeling it's like in me. There's a listener out there. He's got a connection with the Dallas Stars, and he's going to make it. And I have a good feeling something's going to come of this.
All right. Well, let's roll with that. I love it. Okay, so real quick, to ring us, or what's the word I'm looking for? Rein us back in. That's it.
Ring around the rosy.
Yeah.
One suggestion, though, Brian, are you going to do any, like maybe an auction or something?
We could do a live auction. That would be fantastic.
I have a signed Mike Modano game hockey stick, broken hockey stick, that I'll be willing to donate to it.
Awesome. Love it.
Way to make us look bad, Greg.
I'll
try to find something myself.
It'll be from all of us.
All I've got is Super Bowl squares. That's what I'm. I'll tease that out there too. I've got Super Bowl squares. Look me up if you're interested. But no, that'd be awesome. Hey, love it, Greg. That's awesome. So reining it back to our business topic of branding, right? And really, as I'm looking forward and maybe a few nuggets for our audience, just summarizing, I guess, what we've talked about and some of the things we've thrown out as, what's important, key success factors for personal branding. I've got consistency. Ashley, you threw that word out there earlier. I had on my list already passion, authenticity. We didn't dive too much into authenticity, but I think that's kind of obvious, right? If you're not authentic and you're not consistent, as Lennon said, you're not consistent across 24/7. You're not authentic either. Integrity, I can't remember who threw that one out there, but somebody said it, and accountability. So obviously those are all key success factors. Are there anything else or any other activities, words that come to mind as far as things to focus on or things that may be lacking in people that you have not been successful in building their personal brand that come to mind?
I'll jump out there really quickly. There was something that it was a Brian Buffini, who's a longtime real estate coach. And he's got a great podcast just talking, to other business owners and everything else too. And one that really stuck to mind was he had sent all of these marketing pieces out into the, spent a lot of time on marketing campaign and all of these other things. And they weren't getting the right return on the type of branding they were doing. And so he sent a survey out to his clients, and he was marketing himself as one way. And the way people were referring him was completely different. The reason why he was referred is because of his shrewd negotiation skills. That's what people articulated when they said, hey, you got to use Brian. But then all of his marketing pieces were focusing on, maybe their 5-step all-star plan when you work with us and all of these other things, but people didn't care. And so I think sometimes it's the vanity situation, or we spend a lot of time or a lot of money and energy into a marketing campaign or a branding, and it doesn't work, then they don't want to abandon it because they're married to it. And again, they don't want to sit there and say, we were defeated by that. So I actually ask my clients now, how do you refer me? Like, why did you enjoy working with me? Why did you refer your mother? And so I think it's asking people what they think about you. Don't just assume
That's a wonderful point. And that's a great question to ask somebody. And also, what I found too is if I get a random call from somebody, one of the first questions I want to ask them is, where did you hear about me? How did we come in touch with each other? Because I think that, backwardly gets to your brand, right? Was it online? Was it somebody who gave you a word of mouth referral? Was it something? Did you see our podcast, right? Like, what is it? And is that message consistent? Because if you don't have a consistent message, then your brand is gray or could get muddy real quick.
I thought you were going to go here, Ashley, and I'm a little surprised you didn't, but there's the famous Maya Angelou quote, which was, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And I think understanding how you actually make the consumer feel and understand why it is that somebody would refer you, now you can lean into it and you can really lean into that personal brand, and then you can go to that next level. And so I remember when I first saw that Maya Angelou quote, and it just hit me, and it just came back to me as you were talking.
That's why I didn't go there, because I'm horrible at quotes and I would have butchered it. So, but it does. I mean, that's how you make people feel. And so now I kind of abandoned, especially being younger. When I was a younger woman in the real estate business, I would wear like a fancy suit and pearls and heels and all these other things, trying to like elevate myself into what I thought a professional person needed to look like. And now, I mean, well, of course I've got slippers on my feet right now, because as Brian said, it's a snow day for all of us. My feet are cold. But I'm going to wear Skechers jeans and probably a graphic t-shirt with a blazer. And that's how you're going to see me pictured on my social media channels. That's what you're going to see me looking like, in person at a closing table. But because that's me, that's authentic to me. So everybody laughs when they see it. Like right now, I've got one on it says, "But did you die?" Because that's my mom's favorite thing in real estate. She's my business partner and a broker. And when an agent would come crying to her office and saying, "Oh my gosh, that this happened in a deal and everything else," she would say, "But did anyone die? No, then we can probably fix it." So I love that one. And then I think somebody mentioned haters earlier. My favorite t-shirt is "I need new haters because mine are starting to like me." And that's one of my favorite, because when you do realize that everybody's going to have haters, and you become so genuine and approachable that even the naysayers want to be around you, I think that's the winning sauce right there.
That's awesome. And so love the being your authentic self. Love the sayings, love the t-shirts. And the fact that emotion. So that's one of the things that Mark, you said it, emotion. You evoke emotion, whether it's good, bad. Hopefully really warm. Hopefully really. And you said it earlier too, Ashley. Fun, right? Bring a little bit of fun into it. As we're looking at what are success factors. Yeah, buying a house can make you want to puke, but hopefully you had fun before you puked. So kind of like when you go drinking, right?
That should be on a calling card. I hope you have fun before you puke. Buy and sell with me. So let's try that.
All right, we're working on new logo or new mottos here. I like it.
Awesome.
Add it to the piggy bank.
For sure. Well, okay, so we're running up against the clock here. Ashley, what I promised earlier, I want to make sure we deliver on, and that is really to give you a little bit of spotlight time. If there's anything, you mentioned a little bit about, what you do, but please use this time to highlight whatever you want about your business. Obviously, you've set yourself apart as a unique agent and a fun and awesome personality. So, but please tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you, what all the greatness about your business, and really what also I like to hear is the why, how you ended up being an agent.
So let's start there. Red Branch Realty is my company, but that's not where it all started. And my whole family moved here from New Jersey in the late 90s. And my mom wasn't a licensed agent at that time. And we got swindled. Horrible real estate transaction. The lender, the title company, and the realtor, as well as the seller, were all in cahoots. And it was in a small town. And we lost about $250,000 for that deal. And because we were Yankees coming into a small town court and everything else, we got our butts handed to us. And so my mom, who was absolutely amazing, and she turned around and said, "You know what? I just want to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else if I can help it again." So that's where she came in. Got licensed when I was 15, begged me not to get licensed. Please go into an industry that's stable, that has health benefits. So naturally I got licensed. And did the exact opposite of what my mother told me.
Nice.
And she said, now it's starting to work for us because she sees the success. But so that's why I got into real estate, was because I had a passion for it, watching my mom claw her way up to a #1 producer and, had a GED and had never done anything in real estate before, but just wanted to be different. So she was that person in her real estate career. I now get referrals from her clients because she's not an active practitioner, and helping their kids, 20, 30 years later. And that's amazing to me. So the other thing is yes, I love making money. I love having a successful business, but I also understand there's a lot of other things that go into it. So I'm real big on the advocacy piece. I am involved in politics, like they like to say about real estate. If real estate is your job, then politics is your business. So that's why I got involved in the association. So I'm hopefully will be president in 2024, like I said, until they maybe kick me out. I'm a director for our state association as well. And I actually help lobby and fundraise to make sure that we can advocate for elected officials that protect individual property owners' rights. And that's what sets me apart, is that it's not just advocating for you during a deal. It's after the closing table to help you with your taxes, HOA overreach, tons of other things that are going on. So that's what sets me apart. Red Branch Realty, you can get me on Facebook, Messenger, all the information is there. And I would love to talk to you if you're thinking about real estate, but if you're an agent and you realize that your office sucks, you can also reach out to me as well. And I would happily have that conversation.
Fantastic. Great summary. I like the hashtag bird nerd too. I just saw that scrolling across the screen. Great why too. Love that. With that, we're going to wrap it up because we are up against it. It's 3:00. And we've got a snow day to go out there, get our kids out sledding, get ourselves out sledding, do whatever we can to enjoy the snow. But Ashley, I want to say thank you from me personally. Real Talk with Brian Poduska. Thank you for coming on. Look forward to seeing your Real Talk as well.
Yes.
Thursday nights, drinking time, right? So that should make it
tonight at 5:30. Join me.
All right, so there you go.
It's water right now, but it'll be vodka tonight.
There you go.
Who's our guest?
As you're looking.
Who's our guest, Ashley?
We actually will have another person that's their state chairperson for Tree PAC, which is a political PAC that helps with that fundraising, and then the director of public policy for Texas Realtors. So if you want to know why your taxes are really high, join in and put some ugly comments in there.
Ooh, we just teed up a good one. Your show should be hot tonight.
Yes.
Love it. All right, Greg, Mark, as always, great to see you guys. Mark, always love kicking off the month with you. Greg, thanks for stepping in for Kendra today. Again, thoughts and prayers to her and her family. With that, again, guys, go enjoy the snow day. More importantly, stay safe, stay warm. We'll see y'all next Thursday, same time, 2 to 3. Bye, guys.
Bye.